I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Lauren McCoy. We begin tonight with breaking news. A police source tells Fox 8 the NOPD is questioning one possible suspect in the armed carjacking of Orleans Parish DA Jason Williams.
But police have not provided any official updates in their investigation of the high-profile crime first reported by Fox 8. Maddie Kurth joins us with more.
Lee and Lauren, city leaders agree that Jason Williams and his mother are lucky to be alive after gunmen forced them out of their SUV in the Lower Garden District around 10 p.m. Monday night. The NOPD says the same suspects carjacked a 22-year-old woman on nearby Barone Street 30 minutes later. But despite the city's top prosecutor being victimized, NOPD Interim Superintendent Kirkpatrick had nothing to say this evening about the high-profile offense.
My mother's really shook up. She keeps reliving it, but we're just thankful that that we're alive. Nobody's hurt.
Violent crime hit close to home for Orleans Parish District Attorney Jason Williams. The NOPD says Williams and his 78-year-old mother were held up at gunpoint and carjacked late Monday night.
They had automatic guns, and happened very quickly.
City leaders spoke out against violence in New Orleans at the city's 40th annual Night Out Against Crime. New Orleans City Councilman Eugene Green reminding residents that crime can happen to anyone.
You saw the tragedy this morning by a district attorney who, with his 78-year-old mother, was still carjacked. Those people who are committing those crimes find no place. You will find no comfort in the city of New Orleans, because our priority has got to be to do what we can to make our citizens safer.
But NOPD Interim Superintendent Kirkpatrick did not address the prominent violent offense on the city's top prosecutor in her remarks at the crime prevention event.
I want to thank Mayor Cantrell for nominating me even as the interim superintendent.
When asked about the incident directly by Fox 8, she still did not respond. Any comment on DA Williams' carjacking?
I'm sorry, we can't.
After being separated by the interim superintendent's communications team, Kirkpatrick went on to take photos and shake hands with people at the event.
She's not going to be able to simply avoid the press or have her comms people serve as bodyguards or simply use distraction techniques. This is a major news story. Even if she doesn't know a lot about the investigation, certainly they have some information about it, and so the general public have a right to know that information.
The latest numbers from the Metropolitan Crime Commission actually show both carjackings and armed robberies were unusually high last year, but now they are below pre-pandemic rates. As for these violent offenders, DA Williams says that if arrests are made, his office will recuse itself from the prosecution and the case will be referred to the Attorney General.